Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary. Hey, and today I got something a little special. I wasn't originally planning to do any videos this week. I was just going to enjoy the holidays with my family. So, with that being said, happy Thanksgiving. But we just got some big fight announcements from Dana White himself. So, of course, I got to cover them. We have officially gotten the main event slash most of the card for the first numbered event and for for 2026, as well as the first card for the Paramount deal, as I don't believe there's any fight night cards before this. So we officially got the first card of 2026, which is going to be UFC 324, which is going to be January 24th in the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. We also got the main event for UFC 325, which will happen the following week on January 31st in Sydney, Australia. This honestly is kind of crazy that this will be the first time we have back-to-back pay-per-views in the span of a week since UFC 267 and UFC 268. So not since 2021. Pretty cool. Also, we also had announcements. The fight times for the pay-per-views are going to be numbered events are going to be for an hour early. So early prelims at 5, prelims at 7, and then main card at 9. So that is pretty cool, especially if you're a European fan or East Coast guy. Definitely be easier because then, at least for content creators, because they might be able to go to bed early. And overall, the announcements we got, I have some problems with some of the fights. I'll get to that when I get to the fights. And there's some fights that I really love. Overall, I think if the UFC wanted to start the year off with a bang and wanted to give really good fights for the first numbered events, or at least the first 2 numbered events for the new Paramount deal, since they're going to be free, I think they did a good job in bringing us some action quality fights. But in terms of meritocracy and the best fighting the best, there are some issues, but I'll get all to that right now. So first up, and like I said, there doesn't seem to be any fight nights for before UFC 324. So seemingly for the first event of 2026, UFC 324, in our main event, Justin Gaethje will be taking on Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight belt. So it was announced earlier today by Ilya Topuria on Instagram that he would not be fighting for the first quarter of this year. So basically from January to March, as he's dealing with some personal issues and needs some time to sort them out. Now, I'm not really going to get into that. It's his personal life. I've said multiple times on the show, I do not feel comfortable talking about a fighter's personal life, nor do I think it's any of my business besides like what I know. And, obviously most people know about his divorce, so that's probably the big reason why. So I'm going to leave it at that. Now, the fight as itself, Gaethje versus Paddy for the interim lightweight belt. I don't hate the fight itself. I actually think this is the correct fight to make, these two fighting each other, because I thought when Paddy beat Michael Chandler at UFC 314, he was obviously going to get a fight against the top 5 of lightweight. I didn't really doubt that. The question was, of course, who would it be? And it seemed like Justin Gaethje made the most sense. Now, at that time, though, Gaethje was pretty adamant about fighting anybody else unless it was for a title shot. And, that happened after he beat Rafael Fiziev March of this year at UFC 313. And for a while, we didn't really know what was going to happen with the lightweight title picture, other than it seemed Arman Tsarukyan should be next in line as he is the number 1 contender. And then Gaethje and Paddy should fight each other, see who's next in line. Well, we got a bit of a scrabble is what's happened here. Because while, like I said, I don't hate the fight itself, and I think this is the correct fight to make. Where the fuck is Arman Tsarukyan? I mean, what the fuck? He is clearly the number 1 contender. I mean, you look at the rankings, he is number 1 at the lightweight division. So why he's not fighting for an interim title makes no sense to me. It would have made more sense if we're talking about meritocracy if it was Gaethje versus Arman or Paddy versus Arman for the interim belt. That would have made sense, at least. If Topuria is not going to be able to defend his belt. But before I even get into this fight, it's like, think about Arman Tsarukyan, right? He fought November 22nd, and he's a clear number one contender. And before anyone asks me, it's like, well, he just fought literally a week ago. This is January. That's not that big of a. It's pretty quick of a turnabout. I don't care, or I feel like that excuse goes out the window because Arman, one, took no damage, and two, January of next year to November this year, not that crazy of a turnabout, really. I mean, it'll be about a 2-month turnabout. It's admittedly not the ideal time to prepare, but that'll be longer than 8 weeks, right? No, I guess one. Sorry about that. But I feel like Arman could do a quick turnabout because, like I said, he took 0 damage in the Hooker fight. Now, obviously, there could be lingering problems we don't know about, but for all intents and purposes, he basically got out of that fight unscathed. Excuse me. And he should be in this position. So if this feels like the UFC is kind of royally fucking him over, is what it feels like. Now, as for the fight itself, like I said, I don't hate it. It just really, these two are fighting for the interim belt, and the next guy is fighting Topuria. I mean, look, you're gonna get entertainment either way. This is a fun fight. This is an extremely fun fight. These two, more or less, always put on an exciting show. Sometimes Paddy's fight can get a bit weird, but more or less, he puts on exciting shows. Justin Gaethje's never in a boring fight. So you're at least going to get high quality entertainment. Absolutely. And in terms of the overall card, which we'll get into in a little bit, this is a great card. Like, this is a stacked number event. And if, this is how we're going to start the year and start the new Paramount era, which is for the next 7 years, they're starting it with a bang. They're absolutely starting it with a bang. But the main event makes no sense. And trust me, the main event for the next pay-per-view, numbered event that I'm going to be talking about, and after I talk about this card, makes even less sense to me. But in general, how do I see the fight going? Now, no, this is not like a full-fledged prediction. It's just my first thoughts and like how I see the fight go, kind of like quick thoughts on it. I think Gaethje is going to be the most dangerous guy Pimblett ever faced, for sure. Best guy Paddy Pimblett ever faced, obviously. Gaethje has good takedown defense. Paddy's not the best offensive wrestler. But if Paddy can take it down to the ground, I think he can submit Justin Gaethje, because Gaethje's always had a problem with his grappling and submission defense. That's the weakest part of his game. Now, his only submission losses have been to Oliveira and Habib, to some of the greatest grapplers ever in MMA. But still, Paddy's no slouch on the ground. Like, he's really good. You saw when he fought Michael Chandler, or how he was able to use like half Nelsons, back control, his rides, his ground and pound. When Paddy takes you down, it is vicious. He's vicious on the ground. But that being said, while it's on the feet, Gaethje does have an advantage. He's much more technical. He hits with so much power, so much intent, and just violence to it. Now, I think Michael Chandler is shot for shot harder hitter than Gaethje, but Gaethje has much better technique. And, it seems that chin just don't go away. I mean, he did suffer the worst knockout loss of his career at UFC 300. Then, took almost an entire year to recover, which good for him. And he was able to take what Rafael Ziev had to give him and won that fight. So while it's on the feet, and Paddy's defensive striking has always been a glaring weakness of his, especially because of how high he keeps his chin up. So that is a major concern I have. But if early predictions, I gotta favor Paddy Pimblett in this one. I just think he's younger. He's less shot-born than Gaethje. Of course, I think that chin is going to be tested. And I'm concerned his head could be sent through the bleachers if he's not careful. But I just think he has the path of least resistance for him. If he can get Gaethje's back, he doesn't even necessarily need to take him down. But if he can get the back even while standing, I think he has the jiu-jitsu skills to submit Gaethje. So my early prediction, again, I'll delve into this fight when we get to the week of it. I'm going to go with Paddy Pimblett in this fight. Moving up, in our co-main event, Kayla Harrison will be making her first title defense of the women's bantamweight title as she takes on Amanda Nunes. The Lioness has returned, and she's looking to get back the belt she never lost. This is a great fight for women's MMA. It's one of the two most important fights. Now, the other fight was Shevchenko versus Weili, but, on paper, that was the fight to make, and it could have been a great fight. In practice, unfortunately, There's weight classes for a reason. But this fight, you can't blame the UFC for how this fight will go, and you can't really blame it for how Shevchenko Weili went, because you could see clearly that they were trying to make the best fights you can in women's MMA. It's just in practice, and unfortunately didn't turn out the way we wanted it. But this is a great fight, I think. Kayla Harrison, in my opinion, is one of the best combat sports athletes of all time. I mean, you look at her resume, right? 2-time medalist in judo, and the only American to win gold in judo. 2-weight world champion in the PFL, and then a UFC champion. Now, for Amanda Nunes, she's coming out of retirement. Her last fight was UFC 289, which was June of 2023, where she absolutely smoked Irene Aldana in her last title fight. Yeah, I was correct. June of 2023. So Nunes has not fought in over 2 years. So, of course, the big question in this fight is how Nunes will return after 2 years off in the sidelines. Now, I'm not saying she's just coming back off the couch. She's probably been in training specifically for this fight. As we kind of knew this was the fight to make. Whoever won between Nunes and Juliana Pena, June of this year, was going to fight Nunes. And so it's not like Nunes is, like I said, coming off the couch for one more fight. She's obviously been in training. And this has been the fight I think most people have been looking forward to since, both their rises. I mean, I feel like these two have had their names on each other's brackets for many years. It just never materialized because Kayla was in the PFL, quarantine, Amanda Nunes retired after, and then Harrison came into the UFC about 6 months later or so. So different things kind of got in the way, but we finally get this fight. And to be honest, this does feel like possibly both of their last fights, if I'm being honest, because for Kayla Harrison, I don't know how many times she's going to make 135. I think at best you have 1 or 2 more title fights with her. I do not see her fighting at bantamweight much longer. She is killing herself making this weight. And she's no spring chicken. And she is, how old is Harrison? She's 35, yeah. She is not going to be able to make this weight much longer. Like I said, you probably got this fight and maybe one more, if not even. And as for Amanda Nunes, I mean, let's say she wins, right? What would be left for her? Because Nunes would have, she already had the distinction of beating every single champion in her weight class. And if she wins again, she'll do it again. But, the question would be, what is there left for Nunes if she wins against Harrison? Shevchenko trilogy? I really want to see that. She beat her twice already. And same goes for Harrison. What else would there be for Kayla Harrison besides Shevchenko moving up and fighting her? That's really about it for Harrison. So I feel like no matter who wins between these two, I feel like both might retire. And I wouldn't be mad about that decision. What else is there left? They're the two best fighters in this division. Even Nunes retired, I think, beats almost every single fighter in the top 15 of women's bantamweight. And, I'm pretty sure Kayla Harrison will beat them all too. So it makes sense. How this fight will go is very intriguing. Minus the X factor of Nunes's layoff and how Harrison will look like after the weight cut. I don't think it's striker versus grappler per se, but obviously Nunes will be the better striker of the two. She's also the harder hitter of the two. And there's a great possibility this could be like how when Nunes fought Ronda Rousey, where she just battered her in less than a minute. But the difference is Kayla, I think, is a smarter fighter than Ronda Rousey. I think she has a better team behind her, an American top team. And while she's not as good as a striker as Amanda, nor do I think she hits as hard, she does have some fundamental striking. Now on the ground, however, that's where it gets intriguing because Nunes has good jiu-jitsu, but she has been taken down and controlled before by other fighters like Doreen Demandamine took her down. Pena was able to submit her. I'm sorry, my neck is killing me. Who else am I thinking of? Kat Zingano back in the day. There have been times Nunes has shown some deficiency on the ground, and Kayla Harrison is without a doubt the best grappler Nunes has ever fought. So that is definitely some intrigue. This is honestly a much tougher fight to call for me because I see a clear path of victory for Nunes where, like I said, I think she can win by knockout. But at the same time, if Harrison takes her down, I think Harrison has the skills to submit Amanda Nunes. So early prediction, I lean towards Kayla Harrison. I think mostly due due to her activity. She's been fighting, or she's been a bit more active than Nunes in the last 2 years. I mean, she fought once this year and then twice last year. And Harrison Nunes, like I said, hasn't fought in 2 years. So I think activity might be the biggest factor for me going right now. But again, I'll break these fights down more as we get closer. Then in our feature fight, former bantamweight champion Sean O'Malley looks to get back in the winning column and make a march toward the title again as he takes on Song Yadong. This is a great fight of bantamweight strikers. Sean O'Malley, sniper, or some of the best some of the best kickboxing in the division, and overall some of the best striking in the UFC. He's very fluid, very good at switching stances, great timing on his strike striking. And I mean, you saw when he fought, like, say, I don't know, Eddie Wineland or Aljamain Sterling, his ability to find just the right shot, sniper, he finds chins, is impeccable. Now he's coming off 2 losses to Merab. In that second fight, in the second fight, he did not deserve the title shot, and he did get beat worse by Merab when he got submitted via north-south choke. So O'Malley's definitely coming in at what's the one I'm looking for here? In not only in desperate need of momentum, but definitely probably the worst spot he's been in his whole career, even after the loss to Vera, or where you can make the arguments because Pereira kicked the nerve. Now he's taking on Song Yadong, who, besides his loss to Piotr Yan, is coming off a win over Henry Cejudo this February, where, granted, I don't think it was his best showing, where he kind of double eye poked Henry Cejudo for the win, but I did think Song was winning the fight anyway. So it's a bit muddled, but I did think his performance against Cejudo looked pretty good. And besides the loss to Piotr Yan, he had 2 wins, knocked out Ricky Simon and basically whooped Chris Gutierrez. Besides that, has a loss over Sandhagen. Overall, Song has proven to be a top 5 fighter in the bantamweight division. He's well-rounded. He's got good wrestling. His striking is very good. He is able to time his opponents as well. He's a bit different than O'Malley. He's obviously shorter and stockier, and hits with, I think, a bit more power. Actually, I take that back, because O'Malley hits deceptively hard, and he does have one-punch KO power that's rare for this division. But Song also hits pretty hard, too. I mean, you saw him knock out Rick Simon, who's pretty durable, all things considered, hurt Sandhagen on the feet and hurt Yan on the feet. But I would argue maybe Sean O'Malley might actually hit harder than Song, because you've seen O'Malley face plant these people or knock them stiff with one punch in comparison to Song. So that's a bit of a tough one for me. How I see this fight going, it would definitely be a striker's delight. If there were a fighter to go for takedowns, I would believe it would be Song. But, they might just contest it on the feet. And if it were to stay on the feet, I think O'Malley has a better shot because he's going to be the taller, rangier guy. He might... Now, I'm not going to say he's going to implement the same plans as Corey Sandhagen, but I think he could keep at range, make it difficult for Song to get in close and use his tight boxing combinations. It is a close fight, for sure, and this is the right fight to make for O'Malley to come back. Now, if he wins, I don't think he gets a title shot, but or who knows at this point with these fucking matchmaking. I mean, again, I'll get to 325 in a minute. But I do favor O'Malley in this matchup. I do think he has the style, and I do think he has the range and power and the striking to beat Song, but we will see. Next up on the card, we have Waldo Cortez Acosta taking on Derek Lewis. I mean, the activity of Waldo is just awesome. I mean, this guy literally just fought last week, and he was insane, and he was an insane man. He wanted to fight, what was it? The fight night on December 13th. Unfortunately, I guess there was no heavyweights that wanted to fight, make that quick return about. Fair enough. So instead, he gets to fight. Now, I don't know about... Now, this bout order is a little wonky because there's some fights I think will be on the main card instead of this. But for all intents and purposes, you have this main card fight. He's on the main card of the first numbered event on Paramount. And he gets to fight someone, if he gets a win over Derek Lewis, that's the most prolific name in his career. He might arguably have some better wins, like Sergey Spivak, because, Spivak beat Lewis, but he will have the most high-profile name. Meanwhile, Derek Lewis, I'm not going to say he's on a resurgence per se, but has put together a nice little win streak for himself. I mean, he's 3-2 in his last 5. All All three of those were a knockout. He knocked out Marcos Rogerio de Lima, who also has a win over Waldo, by the way. Knocked out Rodrigo Nascimento, and then most recently, July, he knocked out Taliesin Teixeira. So, Derek Lewis, nice little run for himself. And, heavyweight division is, wide open because, it's lacking in talent. You can make the argument if Derek Lewis gets a win over Waldo, who's in the top 6, he might, or actually I take back, Waldo's in the top 5 now. He just moved to number 5 over Gelton Almeida. My point being is, if Lewis can get a win over Almeida, over Waldo, he could be next. He could get a title shot. I mean, it's not crazy because, Derek Lewis is such a fun fighter, a fan favorite, popular. It's not crazy to think that he might get a title shot against, the winner of Aspinall Gone. And, he has a win over Volkov. So, again, it's not that crazy because, again, Derek Lewis is a fan favorite one last chance to see him win the belt. I'm sure there are some people who would be interested in that. Meanwhile, for Waldo, as I said, biggest win of his career, mostly in terms of name value. And arguably, if he wins this fight, he should be next in line for the title shot. And I do think he should leapfrog Volkov because of his activity and what he's doing right now. I mean, he is so much fun for this division, and he is the breath of fresh air in this division. Active, turning in fun performances of late. I mean, he knocked out both Shamil Gaziv and Ante Dalia in the first round in the span of 3 weeks. That'll be awesome. How this fight will go, Waldo's going to be the more technical fighter on the feet, but I mean, that's kind of true for almost every single Derek Lewis opponent. But Derek Lewis, man, it does not matter. It does not matter who Derek Lewis is fighting. If he touches his opponent with that right hand, they're all going to sleep. Even at 40, Derek Lewis's one-punch power is not to be underestimated. I mean, shoot, he'll be 41 in February. So, I mean, even at 40, Derek Lewis's punching power is nothing to be underestimated with. If he lands solid, I do think he can knock Waldo out. I mean, it'll be a tough task. Waldo has shown a pretty good chin. He took some big shots from Sergey Pavlovich, but again, it could be possible, man. And, it's not in Texas, so Derek Lewis has a chance. Now, granted, he's not fighting a Russian, so his chances are less. Derek Lewis is like the ultimate meme fighter. You need certain conditions for Derek Lewis to win. Either it be a Brazilian, in which he knocks out who, is not in the top 5. If it's a Russian, he generally beats them. And if it's not in Texas, he doesn't lose. He doesn't lose all the time. So there are certain conditions that must be met if Derek Lewis is to win. But in all seriousness, I hate to do this, but I got to go with Waldo. I love Derek Lewis. He's a fun guy. I mean, my balls is hot. How can I not love that? I mean, he's so fun. But I like Waldo too. I do think he's a bit more technical on the feet, and he should be able to, maybe knock out Derek Lewis. I mean, he's shown some real power as of late. He could catch Lewis with that right hand and fastball. Of course, I'm a little nervous for him if Lewis plays possum, which Lewis has tended to done before, and he usually catches his opponents when he plays possum and gets them with the right hand. So that's a possibility too. So I would lean towards Waldo in my early prediction. Then in what seemingly our main card opener, Arnold Allen will be taking on Jean Silva. This is an awesome fight for sure in the featherweight division. Arnold Allen has not fought in a while. He hasn't fought since July 2024 when he beat Giga Chikatsuke. I don't know why it took an Allen forever to get a fight. Now, I know most of the time the UFC saves Arnold Allen for London and whatnot, but it sucks. Arnold Allen's a really good fighter. I mean, it only took literally the best of the best to beat him as of late in Max Holloway and Mozart Evloev. And, you look at some of the names on Allen's resume. I mean, he's beaten some pretty good guys. Like I said, Giga, he beat Calvin Kattar, beat Dan Hooker, Gilbert Melendez, Sadiq Youssef. He's beaten some good names. Now he takes on Jean Silva, who's coming off the first loss in his UFC career against Diego Lopez in what was an awesome fight. In a fight where he had a lot of moments in that first round, and he was shown to be one of the best strikers in the division. He just seemingly got overzealous looking for the knockout and got caught with that spinning back elbow. So it'll be interesting. I'm curious to see how John Silva comes back after that loss, because he did take a lot of damage in that fight. But September to January, he's probably had some time to heal up. So there is that. So maybe there's not as much concern in terms of the turnabout and damage he's taken. Like I said, he probably had time to heal. For Silva, I'm curious, like I said, how is he going to come back after a loss? Now, he's lost before and he's won afterwards, so it's not like he's not used to tasting defeat. But his whole style is not only creative striking, but kind of fighting his opponents where they're best at and making them look foolish. And I wonder if he's going to play that game with Arnold Allen too, because Allen is a physical beast at featherweight, very strong, like I said, big for this division, good striking, good, well-rounded grappling. He's got some good guillotines. But so does John Silva. And I think if this plays out, I think this is mostly going to play out on the feet. I think John Silva is going to be the harder hitter of the two. And I do think technically probably the better striker. But Arnold Allen is gritty. He's durable. I don't think he's ever been knocked out, actually. Arnold Allen has lost. Yeah, he's never been knocked out. He's only ever lost 3 decisions in his whole career. And, both these guys are young. Arnold Allen is in his early 30s. Silva is still in his 20s, or late 20s anyway. This is a banger fight. Banger fight. This could be fight of the night. If Paddy versus Gaethje not fight of the night, then I do believe it would be Allen versus Silva for sure. For sure, that would be fight of the night, if not Gaethje versus Paddy. Early prediction, I would lean towards John Silva. Like I said, I think he's better technically on the feet and has more power. Plus, he's been more active than Allen. And I always do think ring rust is a factor, and I really should include that more as a factor in my predictions. Sometimes I don't think it fully affects the fight, but this one I do think it does. Some of the other fights on this card, I won't get into them as quickly. I got to talk about UFC 325. But we have former champion Alexa Grasso taking on a fellow former champion, Rose Namajunas. Alexa Grasso badly needs a win. She lost twice, pretty dominantly losses to Natalia Silva and Shevchenko in their third fight. Rose coming off a win against Miranda Maverick. But, lately it's not looked her best. I don't know why she left Trevor Whitman's camp, but ever since then, she shot herself in the foot with that Carlos Esparza fight. She did okay for the most part against Manon Fior. Did look pretty good in beating Tracy Cortez. Then lost to Aaron Blanchfield. And then most recently beat, like I said, Miranda Maverick. So in terms of her flyweight run, Rose has been okay as of late. I mean, she's beaten top 10 opponents in Cortez and Maverick, but clearly lost to top 5 fighters in Fior and Blanchfield. I also meant to say she beat Amanda Hebos too, but Hebos jumps back and forth between weight classes all the time lately. So is what it is. So like I said, though, it's clear that Rose has not been able to beat a top 5 fighter in this weight class. But if there were a top 5 fighter she could beat, I do think she could beat Alexa Grasso. I think she has more tools on the feet. And we've seen Grasso has a deficiency on her wrestling, and Rose is a pretty good wrestler, pretty good grappler. So I could see her giving Grasso hell on the mat. Striking wise, that would be kind of interesting. Rose is pretty technical, and I think has a bit more dynamic weapons. But Grasso is a pretty good boxer and pretty good fundamentally with her defense. So I'd lean towards Rose Namajunas in this fight to win a decision, but fight could go either way. But I do lean towards Rose. Next fight on the card. I believe this fight will probably be on the main card. We have Umar Nurmagomedov taking on Deiveson Figueiredo. Awesome fight. And I was a little surprised Umar wasn't going to fight for the belt next, but I forget who it was. I can forget if it was Habib or Amir Delaziv, but I knew they said that Umar was going to have one more fight before fighting for the belt, which I can respect. Get him some more experience with top-level opposition. Now, Umar's coming off his win against Mario Bautista, where he looked good for the most part. He was able to out-wrestle Bautista, but I'll tell you what, man, Bautista made it hell for him and made him earn that win. I mean, he dropped him in the second, had him in a told hold in the first. It's just simply Umar pulled the Marab and went for 13 takedowns in a 15-minute fight. Now he's fighting Figueiredo, who is coming off a good win over Damon Jackson. Dave. Yeah, man, I can speak today. Apologies. Montel Jackson, where I admittedly thought he was going to lose that fight because it seemed the age was catching up with him, as he had lost to Petr Yan via close but obvious unanimous decision, and then he fought Sandhagen where he shredded his knee. So there were some concerns I had for Figueiredo. But I mean, to be fair, you look at his bantamweight run, right? He beats Rob Font, Cody Garbrandt, Marlon Vera, beats Montel Jackson. He beats he beats top level opposition. And I mean, let's see. You look at it, right? title challenger Vera, former champ Garbrandt, 2 top 5 and top 15 respectively in Font and Montel Jackson. He only lost to a former champion in Jan and a title challenger in Sandhagen. He's not losing to chumps, I'll say that. I do think, though, Umar should win again. And Figgy did shred his knee not that long ago. It was in May. Excuse me. It was in May when he shredded his knee. And I think Umar will just out wrestle him for most of the fight. On the feet, though, I would give Figueiredo a chance. He does have the knockout power. And we've seen Umar get dropped a few times. Bexat dropped him. Bautista dropped him. I think Figueiredo could drop him, too. And Marab hurt him with a jab cross. So I think, Figueiredo has a chance. He has a puncher's chance, I should say. But I would lean towards Umar in this fight. And then the other 2 fights on this card are Nikita Krylov versus Budauskas Bukauskas. Makes sense. I think Bukauskas has earned a top 15 spot, and I think Nikita Krylov's best days are behind him. I'll probably pick Bukauskas to beat him. And then you have Abate Gutier taking on Andre Pelayev. I got to go with Abate Gutier. Now, Pelayev will be an interesting test. He's a very technical striker, but I think Abate Gutier should smash him like he's done everybody else. And then very quickly, if I may. Now, this is not the whole card, but they did give us the main event. For UFC 325, this will literally be the next week after 324, January 31st in Sydney, Australia, in our main event. The now 2-time featherweight champion, and in my opinion, the greatest featherweight of all time, Alexander the Great Volkanovski, will make his second title defense of his second run as champion in a rematch against Diego Lopez. Now, I've heard rumors that this is Volkanovski's retirement fight. I don't know how accurate that is. I've just heard about it on some posts from Instagram. I would prefer to hear from Volkanovski himself confirm this, but until then, this is what I've heard. Now, this is, like I said, this is a rematch. These 2 fought at UFC 314 in April. And I mean, I hold a special place in that, I hold that event and that fight a special place in my heart, as I was live for that fight. And it was a treat to watch the whole event and seeing Volk win his belt back. Since then, he has not fought since then, and I know why. The UFC was waiting to go back to Australia with him in it. But it kind of sucks how Volk obviously wants to be active. He's never been a fighter known to like sit on his throne and just like be inactive. He's known to fight all the time. But the UFC wanted to save him for Australia, so now they're having him in Australia headline the card. It's been a while since he's headlined it. It's been February of 2023 when he fought Islam the first time. Meanwhile, Diego Lopez is coming off an emphatic win over Jean Silva this September of this year at UFC Noche. There's just one issue with this fight. This fight makes no fucking sense. It doesn't. I love Lopez. Do not get it twisted. I love Lopez, and I'm sure if he had one more win, he would get a rematch, and I wouldn't be complaining. But you literally have 2 undefeated fighters in the top 5 in featherweight division. You have Mozart Evloev, who, granted, hasn't fought since December of last year when he beat Aljamain Sterling. Fine. And he was supposed to fight Aaron Pico. And I guess the UFC was like, okay, you're not getting a title shot until you get one more win. That's fine. I can kind of understand it. But you also have Lerone Murphy, who's also undefeated and coming off a knockout of the year against Aaron Pico at UFC 319 in August. This fight makes no fucking sense. No fucking sense whatsoever. Again, I think these 2 would have rematched down the line anyway. And I'm not saying, coming off one win against Jean Silva. Granted, a streaking Jean Silva in a fight that was awesome. Don't get it twisted. But Lopez doesn't deserve the shot. He doesn't deserve it. This is a clear example of picking a fight because it's going to be more entertaining than the best fight in the best. You literally have 2 undefeated fighters in the top 5 in the same division. One of those should have been getting a title shot. And Lopez should have been fighting either one of them. Like, literally, you could have Lopez versus Evloev 2. I'm sure no one would complain about that. Their first fight was awesome. And, winner gets the title shot. And then Murphy versus Volk. Or, you switch it up. Murphy versus Lopez. That's an interesting clash of styles. And then Evloev versus Volkanovski. This makes no sense. I mean, you also look at their first fight. It was not competitive. It was like 49-46. Now, I understand Volk was damaged in that fight, and Lopez did drop him in the second and fourth, but for like 23 minutes of a 25-minute fight, Volk was kicking his ass. He was circling around the cage, landing great strikes. Lopez was chasing him the entire time. And as I said, besides dropping him in the second and fourth, and I do think Lopez won the fourth, Volk won that fight cleanly. He won it cleanly. I don't know what else to tell you then. This is wrong. This is just wrong in every way. I know I sound like I'm bitching, but again, man, you had two not only fresh challenges, but interesting challenges. And, you know, if you care about meritocracy, if you care about the best fighting the best, and the best versus the best would be Evloev or Murphy. Simple as that. It's as simple as that. Early prediction, I would probably lean toward Volkanovski. Now, of course, Diego Lopez has a puncher's chance. We've seen it before. He dropped Volkanovski twice in their fight. And I think if he can, instead of chase Volkanovski, do better at ring cutting and be better with his striking, then he can absolutely knock Volkanovski out. We've seen Lopez has the power to hurt him badly, but I can't stop but think, you know, this is going to go exactly like how the first fight went with Volk playing Matador to Lopez's bowl and then winning a decision. Because he's not going to knock out Lopez. Lopez, I think, has probably the best chin right now in all the featherweight. He probably has the best chin in right now. But yeah, I gotta go with Volk by a decision. I just think he'll do the exact same thing. I'm not gonna be as long with this one as I was Pimblett versus Gaethje and, you know, the rest of 324, because there's no other fights that have been announced on this card so far. It's just this main event, and I kind of said my piece when I said I think this fight is bullshit. So with that being said, that's been the news I have for you folks. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below on what you think of it. Let me know what you think of these matchups. Do you think that you're willing to ignore some of the meritocracy things and enjoy the fun? Do you think some of these matchups are bullshit? And what's your favorite fight in these matchups, and how do you think it's going to go? With that being said, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. Stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. And happy Thanksgiving. I'll see y'all next time.